So I'm here again with Stephen Hoyland, leader of the up and coming week of guided prayer. And it's a retreat that we're hosting where you can be at home and call in on Zoom, or you can come in to have some sessions. So that means you can do it from anywhere in the world. But I thought it'd be really interesting to hear about the man behind the retreat and his walk with Jesus, because ultimately this is about a prayer retreat and it's about our walk with God. So I wanted to probe a little bit deeper, Stephen. So just tell us about your walk with Christ. How would you describe your relationship with him? Why should someone come to you? They're coming for a retreat. Do you walk the walk? Do you talk the talk? Or do you talk it but not walk it? Tell us about your walk with him.
Good question. I would say 30 years ago, I was a bit frightened of God and of Jesus. And then I was taught a way of praying that was using my imagination. And we were by a lake, walked through a wood and up a hill, and Jesus was at the top waiting for us. And when I got there, it happened to be a warm day when I was being led through this prayer. Jesus somehow managed to have in his hands two cold beers. One was for him and one was for me. And that was one of the beginnings of my change of image of God and of Jesus. And I've not looked back since. He doesn't always have beers in his hands. There are other things to be done. But I have found over the years, personally and in working with others, that there is something deeply attractive about this person. And that's the main way in which he is wanting to invite us into relationship with him. That he's an attractive person with a message that he wants us to believe and to live, namely kingdom message.
Can I just pause you there and unpack that for you? What does that metaphor mean for you of Jesus holding a beer? Was that it's okay to get drunk? Or was beer something, a symbol of relaxation, of joy and connection? Because some of my listeners will come from a very different cultural framework.
Yes, I don't think he does gluttony and drunkenness in spite of what the Pharisees think. I think for me, that experience in prayer was a way of him showing me that I could relax in his company. And that amongst other things, he wanted to relate to me as friend, yes, also as Lord, Savior, and also as friend, and that being in his company didn't need to be something that worried me, frightened me, but that I could be myself with him. And that is indeed how I experience my relationship with him now, as someone I want to spend time with and someone who wants to spend time with others.
So if I push you a little bit, think a little bit about that. So really, I hear you saying like you closed the door, you came to peace with God as slightly critical or difficult or master, and it opened the door to Jesus as friend walking alongside you. And I know you've been doing retreats for 18 years. And if we compare and contrast what your life would look like if you were still in the fear-based walk with God compared to the kind of joy-based, relationship-based, friendship-based, how do you think it's impacted your life overall? That kind of one switch that came through one guided retreat, which has then opened up a new pathway to you.
That switch was confirmed again and again over the last decades. I don't know what kind of a Christian, if at all, I would be otherwise. I think maybe a split personality Christian, and to some extent I probably still am, and maybe we all are a bit. But I would be, if I were a Christian at all, I would be claiming that God was love and was on our side, but not really believing. That would have been me then. If anyone had asked, I'd have said, God is love. But I wasn't really believing it. In fact, I would say that back then, I would have thought, I did think, that what God wanted for me in my life was what I least wanted. And the vocation was, find the hardest thing and do it. That is not my understanding now, but it would have been back then. So it has made a huge difference. I think I would have been a very unhappy person, actually. I hadn't discovered a God who really was love and on my side.
So there's a switch from God as a kind of cranky tester, examiner God making you suffer and seeing how you do, to the Emmanuel who walks alongside with you like Jesus walks on the Emmanuel Road. But it also sounds to me like there's some integration going on, that actually, instead of your life going in two directions, what you think and how you live, the two have brought some integration. Tell us a story about maybe meeting with Jesus in Ignatian prayer or meeting with Jesus in a retreat. So someone's going, what does this feel like? But what can I expect? Just tell us a kind of an experience that you've had in addition to the first one that you mentioned.
The one that I had quite early on in the pandemic during the lockdown, which was for many people an anxious time. What does this mean for us now? And what does this mean, to the world and the future? Are we ever going to come out of this? And I was on a retreat in daily life because we weren't able to go anywhere, feeling pretty anxious. And I was praying and invited by the person leading the prayer to imagine how God was looking at me or with me, which is something I will undoubtedly be inviting people to do in the opening meeting on October the 1st. And as is usually the case with me, I had a sense of Jesus with me in the room. And what I was noticing about him, yes, through my imagination, but I think grace was working with me, was that he was joyful. So this was not a projection of my own inner anxiety onto him. This was being gifted with something else that I think was of him, the Jesus who cared more about the plight of the world than I did, knew about one suffering, and yet was also at the same time able to be joyful. And he was wanting me to see that in him and to let go of some of my anxiety and start to believe again in the possibility of a future full of hope. I'm on the way. Anxiety is still a part of my life as it is for many people's. But when I reconnect with this Jesus, this risen Jesus, it makes a huge difference to me and my sense of hope and the point of living in a hope-filled way. So that would be a recent experience of Jesus that I've had, but still very much with me. And the experience lasted about a second.
Wow.
This was not a half-hour blissful. It was a moment that 3 years later is still feeding me.
That's great. Thank you. If you want to hear more from Stephen, get to meet him, you've got two opportunities without coming to the retreat. The first is to come on the Sunday at 9:00, where Stephen will be speaking or he'll be leading, and the date will be in the comments below. And then he's going to come on the Wednesday at 11:00. And we always have a devotional at St. Mary's at 11:00, and he'll be leading that too. So there's two bites of the cherry. Well, why not sign up for the retreat in daily life? You might get Stephen, you might get another retreat leader. Who knows? But it's been fantastic to hear more about your story. Very inspiring. And I look forward to meeting you face to face near the time. Bless you.
My pleasure. And I sometimes say to people, if you don't have a good enough reason not to do this, do it.